it should go, considering the stories we've heard in the past.
Okay.
You know, there was a recent viral video of a Lagos teacher beating a toddler for an instance that, like, we just see situations
Is
like
it
that.
where-
And there was a woman, I think in Ogun State also, that they flogged the child, and the child was admitted, and the child passed on.
Okay.
So how far?
When some of us talk, we are seen as old school. But those, I always say that those who are in the new school, we are waiting for when they will graduate. Okay? Now, the corporal punishment that was being used before, or other types of punishment, there was a regulation. And those of us who attended teacher training college, that's another recommendation I would want to make to those who are policy makers. Let's begin. Every teacher must attend or should attend the teacher training college.
Okay.
Now, streamline this. It's not go to secondary school and go to teacher training college. From there, you go to College of Education. Then you can now go and read your degree in education in the university. It shouldn't be open to, maybe after secondary school, you go and read education, methods of education, only one semester, another year, one semester, and you come out and be a teacher. No, you can't do well. The rudiments must be followed. Now, talking about the training we had in the teacher training, you don't beat a child in anger. I watched that video clip. That teacher was just angry. Transfer, maybe some transferred aggression. She will be the best person to tell. And then you are beating a child who cannot resist you. We are beating a child who you don't even permit to cry, and all the rest of it. She went beyond her bounds. Okay? But you use corporal punishment while there's something they call punishment, there's something they call correctional measure, corrective measure. So, in using corporal punishment or even whatever type of punishment in school, the intention and the purpose is to correct the child and not to injure the child or cause so much pain on the child. So, as a teacher, if a child offends you and you are angry, you need self-control. And then know when to apply it and let the child know why he or she is going through that type of punishment.
Okay. So away from discipline,
Yes.
education is a scheme for all. Actually, those in the urban and rural areas need to have access to not just education but quality education. So what are some of the barriers to accessing quality education, especially in the rural areas and for communities that are marginalized?
The question again?
What are some of the barriers to accessing quality education, most especially when it comes to marginalized communities and rural areas?
Okay. Let's assume that everybody who is teaching now is a qualified teacher, which may not be right. Now, one barrier that we have, because eventually, retiring as a school principal, I retired from a rural area. That was my last year of service. And teachers don't agree to go to rural areas to teach. So, one of them is that the Ministry of Education has to, or the Post-Primary Education Board has to insist that anybody posted to rural area must report and do the work there. But you hear this connection, go and meet this honorable, go and meet this one, and they even come maybe with the other, transfer this person here. When you are in charge, it's difficult in our society. But in other climes, where things are done, in a straightforward manner, you don't go and begin to indulge in such things. So one is that the teachers, the government should see that teachers posted to rural areas, stay there and do their work. Secondly, now when you look at the schools in the urban areas, you can't compare them with schools in the rural areas. I know that the immediate past administration did a lot in infrastructural development in schools in the rural areas. The schools should be equipped like the ones in the urban areas. Again, what is making teachers to reject posting to rural areas. You find that there's no light, there are no good roads. The place where I serve during the rainy season, I have to drive up to a camp and park there. And then one of my staff will come and use motorbike to take me through rubber plantation, through muddy water to go to the school. But I have a conscience to do my work because those children, they have a destiny. And by my calling, I mean, teaching is also a calling. By my calling, I have to do my bit. Okay. So good amenities should be in our rural areas to make teachers comfortable there. The schools also should be properly equipped so that what is in the rural area is also what is in the urban area is also in the rural area. So teachers get there and find a comfortable working experience. I also want to appeal to our traditional rulers. And then they can help the school system. They can help by making their environments comfortable for teachers. And I want to say also that if they can increase the remuneration, whatever allowance they want to call it, bush allowance or whatever, for those who are in rural areas, there are people who will just want to go there because of it.
All right, because of time, this is where we have to end it for today. I know you can go on and on and on because, like you said, it's your calling. So
it is actually.
So thank you very much,
Thank
Lady
you so much,
Gary Eloiche, for sharing your experience, speaking to the government institutions, speaking to teachers, and even speaking to the family as well. Welcome back to the show. Just watched that interview with Lady Gary Eloiche, an educationist, and education indeed a catalyst for societal development. So don't fall prey to those persons that go about saying that education or school na scam and all of that. And education encompasses both formal and informal education. So if you want to be a person of power and influence, you have to get education, be it formal or informal. But if you can, please do how to get both. Right, Perpetua?
Yeah, right. Very, very important.
All right, so moving on, we'll head to our dailies for the day, and we're bringing to you the major headlines across the different dailies from today, from the Daily Independent newspaper to the Vanguard. We also have the Punch and many others. We have about 6 of them for you this morning, and I think Perpetua should take the first one.
Okay. So I'm looking at the Punch news headlines this morning. The Punch newspapers. All right, the screaming headline here says, economic strain. Inflation surges above 30% in Abuja and 10 states. The writer says food inflation hits 51.8% in Benue amid persistent insecurity. OPS laments rising price. All right, and at the top strip it says Tinubu to join world leaders at Pope's inauguration. Service chiefs tour military bases after terror attacks. APC fumes as Atiku names parties in anti-Tinubu coalition. And at the bottom strip, it says National Assembly divided as compulsory voting bill advances. 5 arrested over 2-week-old baby sale. And lastly, Laziek writes INEC over 3 LP factions in Lagos. That's it on the Punch newspapers.
Next is the Daily Sun. The lead says, elections. Reps approve bill for mandatory voting. And the rider proposed 6-month imprisonment, 100,000 naira fine for defaulters. Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, Parliament Secretary, Federal Ministry of Youth Development Olubunmi Olusanya, and other stakeholders and students during the official launch of the Youth Health Initiative Program in Abuja. That's the side note of that photo speak you can see on the Daily Sun newspaper. Mass failure, NOA, calls for further action on UTME error, hails jams transparency, and the rider reps begin investigations. ECOWAS court orders Nigeria to release man detained for 16 years without trial. Cocaine trafficking, court convicts 10 Thai sailors, ship fines $4.3 million. Adaka Boro Day, Ijaw youths demand restoration of democracy in Rivers, removal of NDDC from TSA. And now to the top strip of the Daily Sun newspaper. Senate molds terrorism charges for oil theft offenders. The rider sets up 20-man committee on rising insecurity. And lastly, from the Daily Sun, FCCPC nabs fake consumer protection operator in Aba, seals premises.
All right, moving on to the Daily Trust newspaper. The screaming headline here says, Nigerians reject reps' proposal for compulsory voting. Lawmakers recommend 6-month jail and 100,000 naira fine for defaulters. That's the rider to that screaming headline. Right at the top strip, it says, recharging Lake Chad, critical to war against terror in Northeast. This is coming from CDS. From bandit to den to Hall of Fame, Yori girls excel in jam. Salah, prices of rams, Salah. Prices of rams may go up as Niger ban livestock export. And at the bottom strip it says, APC, PDP, LP in coalition against Tinubu. This is coming from Atiku. Gunmen invade palace, abduct traditional ruler in Kogi. Drop in food prices and others reduces inflation to 23.71%. And lastly, 8 killed, houses burnt in another attack in Plateau.
Next is the New Telegraph newspaper. The major headline: Why defections to APC won't lead to one-party state, by Ahamba. The writer accuses defectors of self-protectionist agenda. And the second rider, again, two NNPP, one PDP reps defect to APC. Tinubu to attend Pope Leo XIV's inauguration Sunday. Senate moves to mandate MDAs to prioritize locally made automobiles. Education Minister opposes establishment of new institutions. Nigeria becomes member of European Bank for Reconstruction. And above the masthead, Rabiu, how Dangote made us freeze prices of cement. Capital flight, investors pulled from capital markets up 250.8% to 420 billion naira. Insecurity, kidnappers now demands as much as 1 billion naira ransom. Plateau, 10 killed in fresh attack linked to cattle rustling orders. 2027, we've completed coalition processes. ADC says it painstakingly built consensus. Reps move to impose compulsory voting on eligible Nigerians. Rider probe 2025 UTME mass failure. Demand one CBT center per local government. Fubara's suspension. Rivers people running out of patience. Ijaw youths tell Tinubu. The rider called for democratic governance. And lastly, from the New Telegraph, many strokes linked to long-lasting fatigue. And this is credited to a study.
Okay, moving on to the Daily Independent newspaper. The major story here says, reps move to making voting compulsory for Nigerians. The rider says to probe technical glitch behind 2025 UTME. And the other stories making up the Daily Independent newspaper are poor certification regulation render thousands of Nigerian seafarers jobless. Senate wants federal government agencies to prioritize locally made automobiles to make stiffer laws against oil theft and terrorism. Alright, still looking at the Daily Independent, it says inflation eases to 23.71% in April. Pope Leo XIV invites Tinubu to attend his inauguration Sunday. Aeronautical managers kick against 50% deductions from aviation agencies. Dangote, Rabiu freeze cement price for contractors of Renewed Hope project. Tinubu okays forest guards to flush out terrorists and criminals as Boko Haram overruns 3 local government areas in Borno. And lastly, Nigeria fled $1 billion worth of gas in 2024.
Moving out to the Daily Times newspaper. The lead. Tinubu backs Mali, calls for West African unity. MDAs should patronize locally manufactured vehicles, and this is credited to Senator Ndubueze. Lagos debunks reports on civil servants absconding after foreign training. West Africa's security and political economy. You can get details of that right up on page 12 of the Daily Times. Foundation calls for more women in elective appointed positions. And lastly, from the Daily Times newspaper, Group demands sack of Education Minister, JAMB Registrar over UTME crisis.
Looking at the Vanguard newspaper, the screaming headline here says, Special Report, Ways Out of Banditry insurgency by ex-generals and security experts. The rider here says we need a 1 million-man strong military force to tackle the menace. Brigadier General Bello retired. International diplomacy not working in Nigeria's favor. This one is coming from Major Ifoziem. And address soldiers' fatigue. This is coming from Major Olorumbe. Now at the top strip of the Vanguard newspaper, it says inflation rate is to 23.71%. Benue records highest food inflation. Still at the top strip, it says 2027. APC, PDP, LP involved in anti-Tinubu coalition. This is coming from Atiku. Pope Leo XIV invites Tinubu to inauguration in Rome. And at the bottom strip, it says UTME glitches. Obi Ezekwesili. Others worry over impact on students and parents. Defections. We don't want Nigeria becoming one-state party. This is coming from APC. Bandits attack and abduct Kogi monarch from palace. In the world of sports, it says on the 20 AFCON, South Africa's Amajita stop. Flying Eagles' 8th title dream. Alright, that's it on the Vanguard newspaper.
And we have This Day newspaper next. The major headline: inflation declines to 23.71% amid lower food energy prices. We've got two riders: severe in Ekiti, Kebbi, Niger orders, and second, Varsity Dawn hails price moderation as boost to investor sentiment macroeconomy. Tinubu heads to Rome on Pope Leo XIV's invitation with bragging rights of 62% Christian appointees. Bishops Ugogi, Kaigama, Kuka, Martins on delegation. And second rider attached to that story, President expected back in Abuja on Tuesday. To the top strip of the This Day newspaper, Rabiu, Dangote, BUA groups will stabilize cement prices for federal government projects. And lastly, from the This Day newspaper, NUPRC to raise Nigeria's active oil rates from 36 to 50 by end of 2025. Got two riders attached to that story. Bloomberg report at $534 billion. Nigeria tops Shell's 2024 global oil tax payments. Seplat predicts H1 revenue to dwarf full year 2024 and $1.1 billion. That's it from this day newspaper.
Alright, taking a quick look at the Nigerian Tribune, the screaming headline here says UTME reps to probe poor performance. The rider to provide allocation for construction of CBT centers in 774 local government areas in 2026 budget. Advises board to release results of under 16 candidate. Right at the top strip it says Nigeria's inflation is to 23.71%. This is coming from MBS. ECOWAS court orders Nigeria to release man detained for 16 years without trial. Elections. Reps push for 6-month imprisonment and 100,000 naira fine on non-voting citizens. Still looking at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, it says Udwa's investment company posts 82 billion naira comprehensive revenue, declares 518 million naira dividend. Or your government to deliver secular road in 2027. Court convicts 10 Thai sailors ship. Slams $4.3 million fine over 32.9 kilogram cocaine trafficking. At the bottom strip, kidnappers seize ransom bearers in Ondo, demand 30 million naira for APC chair and 2 others release. Bauchi governor insulted my late father, threatened to slap me. Now this is coming from a foreign affairs minister. And lastly, looking at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning, it says again, PDP, NNPP, lose 3 reps to APC. APC National Chairman Ganduje witnesses defection.
Now let's head back to the studio and talk about some of the headlines very briefly. Okay, so I'll begin with this headline from the Daily Trust newspaper, which is seemingly consistent across the other dailies. Nigerians reject Rep's proposal for compulsory voting. And the rider, lawmakers recommend 6-month jail, 100,000 naira fine for defaulters. Now, like what the Daily Trust did, they gave 2 side notes that appear to be of contrary opinions. And the first says, countries like Australia, Belgium, and Brazil have adopted compulsory voting with positive outcomes in political participation and public accountability. When more people vote, election results are more likely to reflect the true will of the people. Now, that's an argument for adopting compulsory voting. Now, on the flip side, no country, not even the most totalitarian country, compels its citizens to vote. Voting is a civic responsibility. If you want, you can vote. If you don't, you can stay in your house. Compelling people to vote is a violation of their rights. Perpetual, what do you think about this subject matter?
I think the second part has summed up my take on the issue, in as much as it is pivotal for us to vote so as to gain the true feeling, or to feel the true pulse of people, most especially during elections. We should also have it at the back of our mind that if I want to vote, I will vote. If I don't want to vote, it's a constitutional right. It should not be made compulsory. So I think the second part has summed up what I think about this whole issue. So what do you think?
Okay, first thing first, we have to consider why we think that this bill is being pushed in the House, in the National Assembly. First thing is, it's still the same citizens that say that there is voter apathy and that enhances rigging. So now you've cried out, and they feel like, okay, one thing that can reduce the rigging and manipulation of election results is that when people come out to vote, it has been stated over and over again that helps a lot. So to deflate voter apathy, to discourage voter apathy, I think that's why this bill was put forward, so that it now becomes a law. But having said that, when you look at the other side, voting is a civic responsibility. It's not supposed to be a law that is enforced, and there will be a penalty, having 6-month jail term and paying a fine of 100,000 naira for defaulters. I don't think it says well. So what happens to soldiers who don't vote? What happens to broadcasters, journalists who are out of their polling? Yes, essential workers who can't vote. Will they be exempted? I've not gotten the opportunity to go through the bill. So will they be exempted? So I just think that it should not be enforced. Rather, more voter education should be carried out. Enlightenment, so people will understand why they need to willingly vote. Because in a situation where people seemingly look like they are coming out to vote, there's still voter inducement. They are still being induced. And we see all of this happening in some polling units and all of that. How much more when it now becomes enforced on you? So you are doing it just to fulfill all righteousness.
Not because you want to.
Not because you want to. So people that even want to vote, they can get to the polling unit and they're still induced, and they change who they want to vote for.
It's very true.
Let alone someone now that was not coerced into wanting to vote. So they're like, let me just go there. Anybody, the highest bidder. So I think this thing needs to be checked. I think the actual solution would be more voter education and enlightenment, so people will see the reason to come out and vote.
But apart from that, apart from more voter education and all of that, if they are indeed very, very serious about ensuring that everybody goes to cast their vote, modalities should be put in place for essential workers not just broadcasters, doctors, nurses, and people that cannot vote, not because they don't want to vote, but because they've got to be at work during those period. So modality should also be put in place for them to cast their votes, basically.
Yes, and also perhaps something that will also enhance voter, um, the voting power, people coming out to vote, is when people begin to see that their votes count and the results reflects the vote of the people. I think that you will not need to coerce people, telling them that come and do this, and it's now a law that you must vote. If not, there is a penalty for you. So let's get one headline from the program.
All right, from the Punch newspaper, the screaming headline here says economic strain. Inflation surges above 30% in Abuja and 10 states. Food inflation hits 51.8% in Benue amid persistent insecurity. OPS laments rising price. I mean, this is shocking because Benue is the food basket of the nation. So if inflation is hitting Benue State at about 52% approximately, I don't know what other states are going to be saying. So what's your take on it?
Okay, now it's quite disturbing, and it's, when you consider this topic of inflation, I think details need to be gotten in perspective, because when you see Vanguard, the headline on the Vanguard now, it puts it this way: inflation rate eases to 23.71%. But you see, it now corroborates that Benue records highest food inflation. And also, on this day, it says inflation declines to 23.71% amid lower food energy prices. So, why the Vanguard and this day, they are saying that inflation declined, there was a decline in April. The Punch is saying inflation surges above 30%, though in Abuja and 10. Yes. So now, when you consider Abuja that was stated, and also Benue, this falls into the Middle Belt and the Northern region, and these are areas that are relatively more disturbed by banditry and these farmer headers clash and people being limited and inhibited from accessing their farms. So I think the truth is, it has been stated over and over again, where there is no security, development is almost impossible, if not totally impossible. Because, for example, when there is no security, even the roads, nobody wants to access that area. It's just like years back when there were issues of bombing of pipelines in the Niger Delta, it affected development, it affected the revenue of the area. So if an area is not safe, even contractors will not want to come and fix your lab. If they know that their personnel, their workers are being attacked. Same thing applies to this food increment in food inflation. The farmers cannot access their farms. Look at what is happening in Borno. Look at what is happening in Benue. Look at what is happening in Plateau. So these are disturbing times. Now, the president and the security chiefs, they need to do something about it. Now, the National Assembly, they are talking about having a security conference now or something like that, where they get to talk about the security situation in the country. Beyond, we don't need speeches coming to say that military, now I must commend the military that go out and they put their lives on the line for the nation, and other security agencies that do same. I must commend them, but also to encourage them, because we also heard some personnel, security personnel, talk about their allowances, their funding, also equipment, saying that the bandits, the terrorists, they have more sophisticated weapons than them. So we need to consider this, empower the security agencies, and also the political will to fight this terrorism, this banditry, this killing of Nigerians needs to stop, so that Nigerians, farmers, can start accessing their farms. And once that happens, of course, there will be a decline in inflation rate.
That begs the question, Ogaga, do you think that there's ever going to be a point where we're going to experience, where we don't get to experience cases of insecurity in the country? Do you think, okay, even though it's not at 100%, probably 90-95%, where we have like relative peace and there is no issue of insecurity? Do you think that we can ever get to that level? Because when we are talking about this point being attacked by having insecurity issues, before we turn, another state is in problem. Before we turn, some people in rural areas have been attacked. Before we go to the other place, people in churches, people in different worship centers have been attacked. So do you think we can ever get to that point?
Okay, truth is, if the political will is there, we can get to that point. It's just like the late General Sani Abacha said. He said, if terrorism, if insecurity, I'm paraphrasing it now, persists over 24 hours, then the government is involved in it. You know the truth? There is no terrorist organization that can actually stage a war with the government of a nation and win if the government has a political will and are meant and wants to come out for them and deal with them. That's the truth. So until we come to that point where there is the political will to fight insecurity, and heads must roll. For example, if a service chief, if a commander or whatsoever is not doing that, and they are stepped down and people are properly equipped and will prioritize security of the citizens of Nigeria, then we start seeing a change. And that's it on the papers. Do well to get yourself a hard copy, or you can go online to access the details of the different headlines we have read out to you. And we'll go to our last stop for today, which will be an interview segment, and this is on modern advertising's role in empowering business, and we'll be speaking with a media and business consultant in the person of Antonia Morley. Please stay with us.
Friday's edition of the program Morning Ride, and we have been having several conversations from health to the state of the state via the Star Report of the Week, and now let's look at business and how you can grow. Today we are thrilled to welcome a dynamic expert in the world of media, business, consulting and digital transformation to the Morning Ride show. Funmilayo Anthony Mordi is a seasoned media and business consultant with an impressive background in communication, advertising, and public relations, holding a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies and a postgraduate certification in business management. Antonia's knowledge is as vast as it is impactful, with a passion for helping businesses to thrive in today's fast-paced digital landscape. She guides both startups and established brands through strategic branding, customer engagement, and digital transformation. Her expertise focuses on not just the aesthetic side of business, but also creating meaningful, action-driven experiences that truly resonate with target audiences. As a strong advocate for research-driven strategies, Funmilayo emphasizes the power of understanding customer behavior, market segmentation, and the strategic use of social media. Her insights, often shared on LinkedIn and Instagram, inspire business owners, especially the youth of Delta State, to harness modern advertising tools to elevate their businesses. Funmilayo's approach to business consulting blends creativity with analytical precision, helping companies exceed their objectives through informed, intentional decision-making. Her work empowers youth businesses in Delta State to adapt and grow in the digital space. Please, let's make welcome Funmilayo Anthony Mordi to Morning Ride Friday's edition.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you right here. You know, the bio sometimes can be so heavy that we expect to see a giant. But you've done a whole lot, and our conversation this morning is on advertising. Swipe, scroll, sell, advertising, empowering Delta State and the youth precisely. Do you think that Deltans have really keyed into the strength of advertising and making their businesses to grow and glow?
I think that advertising is still something that a lot of people are still trying to grasp. You know, lots of people are still trying to understand, you know, what, you know, the layman on the street or the businessman in Onitsha main market or in Ogbogonogo market
that is the average sort of I won't say level, but I would say a lot of people in Delta State are still trying to understand, what why it's important to advertise, why it's important to market your business. I think the average person is still trying to grasp the concept of advertising. That's yes, they're still trying to grasp it.
All right. From Naya, when you look at the modern way of advertising as opposed how advertising was done those days, how would you say that the youth in Delta State have taken it so far? Have they like balanced or gotten used to the modern way of advertising, or are they still advertising like it used to be?
So I would say the youths are really getting a hold of it. Like the older ones are, sort of still trying to understand it, but the youths are really getting a hold of it. I could see a lot of youths, being on social media these days, taking advantage of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. TikTok is very, very prevalent among the young ones too. So yeah, I could see a lot of people, a lot of youths, taking advantage of it, and that's really good. But it now boils down to the question is, it's not. I always say it's not about posting. It's not about making posts. It's not about making posts every day. It's about you really understanding. A lot of times, people, when people are having these conversations and they say, we have to be on social media. Social media is the in thing and all of those things. And I tell people when I have conversations with other business people, I tell them like, you must understand your target audience. You must know who your target audience are. You can't be on Facebook and Instagram and you're targeting those in their 60s. You will never find those people there. Yes, you can find some older people on Facebook, but people, you can't find the older very older ones on TikTok and stuff like that. But in essence is that I think I would say it's not about posting. It's about understanding who your target audience are. And when you understand your target audience, who they are, then you can actually do the right kind of advertising and marketing.
You said something about understanding your target audience.
Yeah.
It is when you understand your target audience that you would know the appropriate media or medium that is suitable for you to pass your message across.
Yes.
So the next question is now, what makes digital marketing more effective when it comes to getting or passing your message across to your target audience?
So digital marketing is, digital marketing is a lot. So we have the SEOs. When I mean SEOs means search engine optimization. So that simply means that people are able to find you easily on Google. So when you create your website, and when you create your website is able to, you put in keywords there, and so you put in keywords, and when they're searching for you, they find you easily and stuff like that, and things sell. Then also you now have the other aspect of where you have Instagram, and where you have Facebook, and where you have the emails and all of those things. So I would say that the digital, you have to first of all, you have to know what you want. As a marketer, you have to, and I always tell businesses is that you have to come to the point first of all when you know what you're selling, like when you understand your product and know who your product is for. You have to know who your product is for. Then the digital space will be able to help you. So if you don't know your product very well, and you don't know who you're selling it to? Those are two most important questions. Who you're selling it to, what your product is all about. Those two things, when you know those two things, then you can be able to target properly. Without proper understanding of who you're selling to, of what your product is all about, you will end up making lots of mistakes. You end up using the wrong channel. You will end up not, properly hitting your targets. So it's the digital space can only help you if you really understand what you're doing, what you're all about.
Okay, let's talk about evidence. People love evidence. When they hear about these things, it sounds very Greek, Arabic, or Latin to them. Or do they hear about actual cases where advertising made a difference, either putting monies in pockets and bank accounts, or helping one's business to thrive? However, it is, they want to understand real cases. Are there some real cases you've seen in Nigeria? Because I know you've done a lot of studying outside the country. You've seen in Nigeria that Nigerians have embraced without even knowing that advertising was all that made this different. That you can share with us this morning on the right.
Like, I would say that, for example, a program like
Big Brother?
Big Brother. I don't know whether that example, like
okay,
a lot
sure.
of you.
We want to get example, clearly.
So
Whatever example that works.
a program like Big Brother Africa, Big Brother Nigeria, you see a lot of, so they have a marketing team, and obviously, and so they put out, so before even Big Brother starts, you start hearing things on social media. You start seeing posts on social media, different people from other blogs, taking those posts and, posting them and, talking about it, making people know that it's time for Big Brother. So it's sometimes people expect results almost immediately. So advertising takes time.
It does.
It takes time. So when you plant the seed, you have to wait for it to germinate. You have to wait for it, because advertising is just like planting a seed. You have to water it, you have to be consistent, you have to do it, put in the work. And so when people want to get their results almost immediately, advertising is a long-term thing. It's a long-term thing. So I would say that there are lots of evidence everywhere. There's Coca-Cola. There's Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has taken advantage of the fact that, it's they sharing happiness, and so, like I would say, Coca-Cola understands their brand, and their brand promise is that they want to be able to share happiness, like people sharing together, sharing a meal together with a bottle of Coke. So that's what I was saying the other time was that if you understand your business, if you understand what you're all about, if you understand if you've done enough research, understand what your product is all about, understand who you're targeting, then you're now able to craft something that would appeal to the audience, and then you can get your results even faster than normal.
Okay.
Faster than
Okay, so apart from audience appeal,
Yes.
now how do you, apart from, because you said something that in order for me to make good sales, I need to have an understanding of what I want to produce,
Yes.
my target audience.
Mhm.
So how do I get people to patronize me and get this product, as opposed to the major challenge that everybody or most people in Nigeria is facing today, which is the problem of survival? So how do we expect them to key into this, patronize this, and then get these products with the major challenge of survival lurking around?
Okay, so I would say that one of the things that we need to harness more in Nigeria is excellent customer service. To be able to talk to people politely, to be able to have, I was making a post the other day on Instagram, and I said, you go into a store and the person opens the door. I'm going to give you an illustration and you tell me whether you like this or not. You go into a store and the person opens the door for you with a genuine smile, and they help you take your bag. They offer you a seat. They offer you a glass of champagne. And when they offer you all of this, then they help you with a cart to help you pick up the things you want to buy, and then help you put on, maybe you purchased a shoe, and they help you put on the shoe, and they ask you questions if you're okay and all of those things. They help you pack your stuff and take it to the car. Now, that type of experience that you have gotten, wouldn't you want to come back to that type of restaurant? Or come back to, you want to come back. So in essence is that we need to start harnessing we need to start taking customer service seriously. Appreciating people, talking to people politely, not getting angry. Because I see a lot of Nigerians, I see a lot of people who do businesses always upset. Like they're just upset. They're just, when you're asking just a regular question, they just get upset. They don't want to answer your question, or they think you're asking too many questions.
Maybe because it's not been paid properly.
Upset or frustrated.
Okay, so
maybe because it's not been paid properly, so they get frustrated, like perpetual stressing.
Yeah, we could say. So the thing is that the only way that you can get, like, you have to get enough customers in order to be paid. So if you keep treating your customers in a condescending way, in a bad way, you end up losing that job. You end up not even having any job at all. You understand? So we have to try to, I know it's, the economy and all of those things, but we have to try to treat people right, treat our customers right. And the next point I would say is that we also have to make excellent products. So the other day I bought a drink and they said no sugar, but I checked some things online. I was able to find that it wasn't true. Like, it still contains sugar. So in essence is that, will I go back to buy that product again? No.
So in essence, advertising is not trying to lie, because I know that many companies, any brands, in their bid to advertise, they distort the story. They tell a little lie. They add little sugar and tell you there are no sugars inside this particular drink.
And the thing is that when you lie, that would when people now come to you and you don't offer what they want, you're going to lose those customers.
You have to go to work, but you lose the customers.
You lose those customers. You lose them. So that's the thing, is we have to start creating excellent products and doing proper marketing.
Anthony, from there more to your time is almost up already on the show. But before we let you go, I think we might do one question each. My question now is a very practical question.
Okay.
And because you're a business consultant, an advertising expert, a media expert as well, consultant as well. So I want you to advertise Morning Ride Friday's edition for us, for our viewer to see. Very practical. What would you do to advertise this and turn this into a bigger brand than what we have seen from channels, Rise, CNN, BBC, and other competitors out there who might not be able to fight right now?
First of all, I have to understand the concept. First of all, I have to sit with the management, or sit with you or those in charge, and understand the concept behind Morning Ride.
It's a breakfast show.
So it's a breakfast show. That's a breakfast show, and I have to also understand the fact that, yes, it's a breakfast show. What are the different type of segments that you have? So I have to understand, yes, it's a breakfast show. So is it a breakfast show that sort of, has has different segments, right?
Yes,
it has different segments that you talk about and all of those things. So first of all, my advice would be, like, for any media house, it would be important to be available to lots of people, reach lots of people. And I would say the breakfast show, it's, if you are not on social media, be on social media. That's another thing. And have like your own like your own chat, your own uh, Instagram, Facebook, and all of those things.
We're on track then.
And then spread the word, talk about it, tell your viewers, or advertise it, and also spend time to advertise it on radio and tell people, tune in. Morning Ride is so time. Spend time advertising it on radio, people talking about it, and then making lots of noise about it, and inviting guests that people love.
Okay.
So, for example, you can decide to invite someone like Destiny Etiko, and then she talks about it, and also a flyer can be created, and she talks about it on her page. And guess what? People are going to get influencers to talk about it. Influencers, people like actresses, actors, influencers.
This is just
invite
came.
them.
All right, we're done. We're turning off the mic. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Anthony Amodi.
Yeah,
We had more
thank you.
questions to go, but we know you would turn this to a class because she's a media consultant, she's a business consultant as well, and she is an advertising expert. Thank you. It's been so much. We should pay you for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Morning Ride continues.
Media strategist and an advertising mogul, Antonia Mode, on the importance of creating proper visibility for your audience as regards proper target audience when you want to carry out your business, pricing, branding, and all of that. So I trust you learned a thing or two from that interview segment. While it's on this note, that will be rounding up Friday's edition of the Morning Ride right here on Delta TV. Ogaga, the last words.
All right. Thank you for being part of the ride. Today happens to be the Delta Broadcast Media Conference happening at the Unity Government House, Asaba. It's a conference that will redefine broadcasting in Delta State. So if you do have the opportunity, you should find your way there. Thank you for being part of Friday's edition of the Morning Ride. This is Iho Gaga Ikama signing off.
All right, and today being Friday, 16th May, is the International Day of the Boy Child. It's very, very important that in as much as we say, be a man, we should also understand that men have emotions too. Sometimes men want someone to listen to them, men want someone to talk to them. Sometimes they need a shoulder to lean on and a shoulder to cry on. Some of these men just need PSS at the end of the day. In all you do, be human and stay human. Have a beautiful day ahead.
What's up, guys? How are y'all doing? I see you. You're looking great. You're looking great. It's your host with the Holy Ghost.